So, when you go out to eat, you probably take it for granted the cafe or restaurant you're eating in is clean and hygienic, but how do you know for sure?
Well, if you live in Wales or Northern Ireland, there's a legal requirement for businesses to display their hygiene rating, usually in the window. But that's not in England, and that's something that the Local Government Association is hoping to change. So we've been out and about to ask how important it is to you.
I think if you saw one that was low number, you wouldn't go in. But, I mean, generally, I guess they wouldn't show it, would they, if it was low?
I definitely think they're important. You know, you should know what you're eating and if it's clean or not. You know, you wouldn't eat at home like that, so why choose to eat out when you're paying as well?
Personally, I'd go myself, check it out myself, and if I like it, then I'd go again, but if not, then I wouldn't.
4 or 5s, that's what I try to stick with, but 1s and 2s.
I mean, I saw a 1-star rated, I would not be going in there.
Yeah, but how often would you see a 1-star rating in a restaurant window? You wouldn't, would you?
No.
See, I do. I'm one of those people who does look for it.
Oh, you look for it like it's in the window?
That green, it's the green thing, isn't it? It's 1 to 5, and I do. It will make me change my mind. I found out the other day that somewhere I like eating is only a 4. Yeah, that's the thing. And I saw somewhere I really like eating is only a 4, and it's kind of put me off from going.
Well, let's talk about it now. Annabel Kyle is with us, who's a food hygiene consultant. Very good morning to you.
Good morning.
I mean, you heard what people said there about their concerns and how much they pay attention to it. Yes. I mean, A, how much can we trust those signs, and B, how visible are they normally?
Well, I think, as you mentioned, in Wales and Northern Ireland, those signs have to, by law, they have to be displayed. Whereas in England at the moment, there's no mandatory requirement for those signs to be displayed. So what you'll find is there are some businesses displaying them and some that aren't.
Well, if you've got one, why on earth would you not display it?
Well, you might not display it if you've got a poor rating. So if you're at the bottom end, which is 0, 1, 2, maybe even a 3, you might think that sends a bad impression, and therefore you might not want to display it. So I think that's probably the key motivation for people.
So do you think, that's interesting, do you think the implication is if you can't see it, if you're in England and you can't see a sign on a window of a cafe or a restaurant, it probably means they've got a bad result? Or,
I would say that's the most likely reason, but there are other factors as well. So some large brands, they don't think that the branding of the food hygiene rating, the big green and black, they don't really feel that matches their brand look or appearance. It might not meet the aesthetic, for want of a better word, of their brand, and therefore they may not have they may have a policy not to display the rating. So it doesn't tell the whole story if it's not displayed.
What about the actual hygiene rating itself? How often is it updated? What does it involve? Because sometimes you go into a place and it looks spotless, doesn't it? I mean, it looks absolutely beautiful, everything's pristine, but it's behind the scenes, and it's not even just the preparation, because you can sometimes see the kitchen area, which also looks spotless. It's about the food and how it's kept as well, isn't it?
Yeah, so it's probably useful just to look a bit for a moment just at how the food hygiene rating scheme is scored. I won't go into massive detail because it's a little bit complicated and complex of how they actually arrive at the score. But I think a lot of people would think, like you mentioned, it's about the cleanliness of the restaurant, both in the eating areas and the kitchen, but not necessarily that much else. It's actually, there's 3 different sections that it's scored on. One is hygiene, which includes cleanliness, but it also includes how the food is prepared and handled, temperature control, personal hygiene, so how clean the chefs are working, both in terms of, you know, touching themselves and washing their hands afterwards and things like that, but also preventing cross-contamination.
And are they tested randomly, and how often do the tests take place?
So the tests take place at a frequency determined by the local authorities. So
are we talking once a year, once every 6 months? I mean, what's the longest period of time?
So the longest period of time would be around 3 years, and that would be a
3 years.
Yeah, but that would be a very low-risk business. So that would be a business that doesn't have any raw food, any raw meat or cooked meat, for example, and preparing those at the same time. It would probably be somewhere that's just pre-packed foods like chocolates and snacks, maybe a corner
Can I just ask, as this is your area of expertise, I mean, do you think that people on the whole should just use their own judgment? Now, you can see the scorecard, but you just said it could have been 2.5 years since they last had a test. You go in there and look at a place, is that ultimately going to be the best test?
I would say the food hygiene rating is the best test because you have the professional, experienced opinion of an environmental health officer awarding that score. For restaurants, generally the frequency of inspection is much more regular, somewhere around every 18 months. So the higher risk the business, the more complex the food they're producing, then the more frequently it will be visited and rated.
Average home, what would that rate?
Depends on your average
But
home.
an average, if you think you're being clean, what do you think our hygiene ratings at our homes would be?
It's difficult to say, the reason being because it's not just based on cleanliness. There's also factors like documentation, how well they're complying with the law in that respect, and also the condition of the building, how it's laid out, and how good the structure is, how well it's maintained. So
I think you try to apply, don't you, your own standards to restaurants. But anyway, thank you so much. We could talk about it a lot.
Thank you.